Can a child's dream come true? Can it come to fruition in reality? Well, of course it can. I guess I'm living proof of that. But at what cost, at what price do our children have to pay for that dream to come true? Are they so focused, in this case, in their athletic dream, that they neglect everything else around them in terms of who else they are, what other gifts they have, what are their blessings? That happens often and far too often. We have to address the holistic development of our student athletes also. I have a special guest today. His name is Michael Willett. He's the CEO of a program called Walk On Nation. And he's going to help me talk a little bit more about this and what he's doing to address it. Yeah, of course, our colleges and universities, in most cases, are doing a pretty good job of addressing the academic side of our student athletes. Much better than when I came through, I can tell you that. But life in its whole is not all about academia. It's not about all academics. Our children need to be educated in areas like common sense, common courtesy, understand who they are, and understand what you're going to hear a little bit more about today, their why. What is their purpose? Why are they there? We have to answer this for these young people, or help them answer it for themselves. So we want to make sure we address this today, and we want to make sure that our children, though they may get their degrees, we don't want them to be prisoners of academia in the sense that they can only exist within the walls of a campus. We want them to thrive and be successful in the real world also. Hi, I'm Keith Lee. I'm your host for It's About Time. And today's video is one in a number of videos addressing sport and social justice issues. We've been doing this for a couple of months. It's been a really good experience. I want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel and add your comments or questions. We love to hear your feedback and answer any of your questions you might have. Today's guest, Michael Willett, he's going to talk about what he's doing to address this issue we just talked about. So stay with us. It's about time. Welcome back to It's About Time. As I mentioned before, our special guest today is Michael Willett. Mike is the CEO of a program called Walk On Nation. And it really addresses the holistic development of student athletes. It's a new program, but it's making fast progress. So I'm happy to have Mike here to talk about his program and what it's doing. And so we can really address this issue on a large scale. So welcome, Mike. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about your story. You know, how, as a student athlete, as a student.
So first off, born and raised Long Island, New York. Came to Florida, middle school, played football, Florida. All throughout football turned to my main sport. It was first basketball. New Yorker, you know, basketball. That's right. Your thing. But coming to Florida, football ended up being my love and my passion. So high school had some things happen. That's a whole nother story. But
yeah,
I had to end up walking on to UCF. Thank Coach O'Leary for bringing me on UCF. Without him, I would never got the opportunity. Mm-hmm. So through there, I had to come on as a preferred walk-on.
Okay.
Being preferred walk-on, I'm basically a scholarship athlete, but I still have to pay. So I don't have to try out. I come in when the scholarship athletes come in. I just have to pay my way there.
Okay.
So playing on the team, 2 years later, I worked super hard and I earned my scholarship.
Fantastic.
One of the best days of my life, earned my scholarship. Sadly, my senior year, injury to my leg and career-ending injury, and I had to call it quits from that point on.
Yeah. Was that a difficult reality to deal with? To get that far, to work that hard, and then because of injury, it's over?
It was definitely tough. Throughout my career, I had a lot of issues with injuries, whether it be my MCL, broken bone in my foot, extra bone in my thigh. There are a lot of injuries, but that last injury was tough because that was the Peach Bowl year, and I got to, it was bittersweet, got to see my brothers win the championship, but I'm still on the sideline on my last year, so it was a tough one.
Yeah. That's the only thing about football is the injuries they seem so unfair, right?
Right.
So how did you come up with this? First of all, tell us a little bit about Walk On Nation, and then talk about how you came up with that concept.
So what Walk On Nation is, we're here for personal and professional development, student athletes, our holistic development, to get them to think outside of sports. So not so much when sports is over, now what do I do? But let's start thinking now while we're in sport.
Mm-hmm.
So while you're in this game now, let's talk about how to use it to the best of your advantage. So let being an athlete enhance you, not define you. We say that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is, I can't just say, "Hi, I'm Michael Willett, I play football." Okay, what else? You have so much more to offer as an athlete. That's what we want to show these young men and young women, that you have so much more to offer as a student athlete. That's how Walk On Nation came about.
I was talking about that a little earlier before you came over. It seems to me a lot of student athletes are not aware that they have more to offer,
Right.
that they have value beyond their athletic gifts.
Right.
Is that the same thing that you found?
I definitely found that. And the thing I found is, we say student athlete a lot, but it forces them to almost pick an identity. So it's either I'm a student or I'm an athlete. It's not who am I as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we at Walk On Nation focus on first, is you as a person, outside of sports, outside of school. Who are you? And it all boils down to it at the end of the day.
Right.
'Cause that's what carries you on in life.
Yeah.
Is if as long as you know who you are as a person, you know your identity,
Mm-hmm.
you can make it throughout anywhere in life.
Mm-hmm. And once you learn your identity, then you start to address your personal why.
Right.
Is that correct?
Exactly.
Or
That's
am I
exactly
just
correct.
making up stuff?
Oh no, you're right. You're right on. You're good. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So can talk to us a little bit more about what you mean by holistic development.
So holistic, we can't do the whole physical aspect, but mind, emotional, all that stuff. We want to, like I said, we start with the identity first to get to the core of the athlete. If the athlete can't figure out who they are, everything else to do from that point on is virtually useless. So we need them to find their core of who they are. That's where the holistic development comes in. Once you know who you are, mind, body, and soul, I know I'm this as a person. Now I can develop you further into that.
Gotcha. Is that something that you personally kind of went through
Yeah,
in terms of discovering who you are?
definitely had to go through that. That was my biggest hardship throughout football, college, life itself. I had to find out who I was for me to be able to even realize that this is how I'm going to create Walk On Nation. I figured out who I am. Now let me help others succeed.
Got you. In your experience as a student athlete, what was your biggest challenge in terms of your journey? Obviously, we talked about the injury and that type of thing, but I know that when I was coaching and talking to kids who were about to go off to college, I had to sit them down and explain to them it's not going to be an easy road. Part of this journey is about how you overcome adversity, and that's a building block for life also.
Right.
So, what was a couple of your biggest challenges?
My biggest challenge, from being honest, was myself.
Really?
I got the talks of adversity when life hits you. You can get all those talks all you want, but until you get hit with it and realize what the adversity actually is, then you can't overcome that. And what I found was I'm my biggest obstacle, whether I'm in my head worrying about my family back home, worrying about making sure my mother and father don't have to pay for me anymore, making sure I make the league, because I put this pressure that I'm the golden child of the family. I'm the D1 athlete. I have to make it. If I don't make it, no one else does. So there's actually something called a superhero syndrome.
Really?
Yes. So what that basically means is that you feel like you have to save everyone. So you put so much pressure on yourself that no matter what happens, you're just trying to save everybody else, and you forget who you are as a person yourself. We also say it's pouring from an empty cup. So say there's school, football, family, social life, all this stuff. I'm pouring here, I'm pouring here. Then when it comes back to me, I have absolutely nothing.
You had nothing left.
And I started to realize that my junior year, I was like, I don't know who I am anymore. I'm worried about playing football. I go in my room, I lock myself in there, and I just sit.
Wow.
This is a tough journey.
I can see how that happens to a lot of young people, but I can see how it happens to a lot of people, period. Just the challenge of life, being the superhero,
Right.
Which is admirable, but like you said, you have nothing left for yourself. So how does Walk On Nation operate? Is it workshops, trainings, or?
It's a workshop. We're almost like a third-party contractor. So the school, company, business, whatever, they will write a contract. We will come out and do workshops for them. So we do identity workshops, core value workshops, building your brand workshops. And we mean by building your brand, social media is so big nowadays that that's your resume now. It's not face-to-face anymore. Your first impression is your digital footprint.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So now we're diving into the ins and outs of everything you have to be aware of, especially being a student athlete. You and I both know your lens is, everything's on you.
Yeah.
You're under a microscope.
That's correct.
So the smallest thing you do, it can blow up, and you don't even realize you're just at a party having fun, and someone's recording you, and career's over.
Yeah.
We see it so many times in drafts, and people fight. As soon as a big contract comes up, a scandal pops up.
Right.
And they didn't even realize it.
Right.
But the other person did.
Yeah, and it stays out there forever.
Forever.
Right. Wow. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad social media wasn't around when I was coming through. My perspective might be a little different, from what most people think. I was young. And I had a journey to travel, so we'll leave that alone. So now, is it only student athletes that Walk On Nation addresses in these workshops, or is it
We talk to coaches and staff as well.
coaches too? Nice.
Right. So we feel like the staff also has to know what the student athlete goes through, so they're better equipped to help that student athlete.
Gotcha.
Because we can't be there 24/7 and tell them what they do, and we're not here to take their job. We're just here to help. That's all we're here to do, is just to help.
Just to help.
Simple as that.
Right. Yeah, that I can see how that I can see how that could be a challenge for some people who are not as secure in their jobs. You would be. But see, the other thing I was curious about is, so far, who have you shared this with? Other institutions? I know, of course, UCF. I would.
Right.
You're alumni,
Yes.
but
We went to UCF. We went to North Carolina State and talked with their staff and administration.
North Carolina State.
Yeah, that was a great experience.
Yeah, they need it there. I would. No, I have a good friend two good friends who graduated from.
Yeah, North Carolina State. We just came back from Texas Tech and spoke with their student athletes, their incoming freshman class, and we're going to UMass Amherst in Massachusetts.
Nice.
Next week, actually, we'll be there to talk with their athletes.
Okay.
So that's where we've been so far. And we've been to some local high schools as well.
Okay. All right. Better bring your coat up there to UMass. Tell you.
I miss seasons. I miss it. I'm a New Yorker. I miss.
Oh, that's right. You're from New York.
I miss the seasons.
Yeah, you're all right. You're all right. Now, so what is, Mike, what's your vision of Walk On Nation? I know I remember when you first started it a long time ago, you were actually still a student, I believe.
Right.
And you had this concept. And it's been, 2 or 3 years now?
It has.
So what's your vision? Where do you want to see this go?
So my vision is Walk On Nation is nationwide and eventually worldwide, because student athletes are worldwide. Just here to inform and help student athletes and coaches and staff and anyone in general to realize that we're so much more than the athlete. And the biggest disconnect I see from the work I've been doing is that it all stems from not knowing your identity. And there's people in their 50s and 60s who still don't know their identity. And nowadays it's even worse, because social media is pushing an identity on you.
Correct.
Even in athletics, we got an identity pushed on us. We got core values pushed on us. Every football player knows their core values are faith, family, football. But what if that's not who I am? So when I leave, I'm still lost in the world.
I'm still confused. Got you.
So that's what we're trying to show.
Yeah. So how did you come up with the name, like Walk On Nation?
So Walk On Nation actually stems from a walk-on mentality.
Okay.
So with that being said, I spoke about identity. A walk-on's identity is completely different from a scholarship athlete's identity, because we still have to pay, and we know we have to pay, which means you have to do jobs and work on the side. It's basically, Walk On Nation in a sense is a nationwide mentality that work to be whatever you want, you can achieve that as long as you work hard. And I feel like we're losing that nowadays. That there's participation trophy awards, there's a bunch of other things, but the core value is, as long as you work hard and you have to work, and it's going to be gritty, it's going to be tough, there's going to be blood, sweat, and tears, but you understand that because you know who you are. That's where Walk On Nation stems from. It's a mentality. It's all mentalities. The walk-on mentality is a hard, gritty mentality that you have to have, and that anyone can carry. You don't have to be a student athlete to have that mentality.
That's true.
It's just to get what you have to get, and you have to work for it.
Yeah.
And you know you have to work for it.
Right. And that's what I've noticed, as an OG, that's what I've noticed is that, speaking and interacting with younger people, when you say you have to grind, you have to work for it. There's one piece that during my day that sometimes I don't find in this younger population of people. There's also something called sacrifice. You can work hard, you can grind, you can, do all these different things. That doesn't guarantee you success. But there's also something called sacrifice in terms of the integration into this whole mixture of trying to realize a dream or a vision, right? And so, as an athlete, I remember, there were certain things you just couldn't do. You had to sacrifice them. You wanted to do them, but you couldn't. Sometimes I find that little piece of it, the sacrifice piece, is not there. But they work hard. They're up, they're running 3-4 miles a day, but they're still partying till 4 o'clock in the morning.
That's
and they
so
can't
true.
understand why their 40 time is not
I know
what it should be,
and
right?
It's so interesting. We always ask athletes and other people in life, what do you want to accomplish in life? Instead, I feel like the question should be, what hurt are you willing to go through in life? So what I mean by that, are you willing to grind blood, sweat, and tears? Are you willing to put 60 hours aside for the work you want to do?
Yeah.
When you realize what you really want to hurt for, then the goal is easy.
Yeah.
It's not what I want to accomplish and, where'd this all come from?
Right.
Now you know ahead of time what you're willing to hurt for and what you're willing to sacrifice, as you said. Then we can get on track to where we want to go.
Right.
But now it's not all flowers and I want to accomplish this.
Yeah.
There's a long, hard process that's not being shown you right now, but it's going to hit you.
Right. That's exactly right, Mike. I had to ask I had to ask myself that question a few times in college, but I remember when the first time really I asked myself that when I was playing in professional. I tried to tackle a gentleman that I'm not sure you ever heard of him, but his name was Earl Campbell.
Woo!
And I attempted to tackle him, and I woke up 3 days later.
Earl Campbell would lower the shoulder. That's one thing he'll do. He'll lower that shoulder.
Oh, yeah. Well, when I woke up, I had to ask myself, am I willing to sacrifice more concussions? And but I answered the question, yes. And I did. I suffered some more, but it was crazy. I know, we're talking about kind of the off the field development. I know you do some things on the field. In fact, we're going to talk with Lamar later on about Train with Ace and what that's doing. But I know you're a trainer for that program.
Yeah.
And how's that going, and what does that do?
I mean, I love Train with Ace because it aligns with Walk On Nation, what we want to do. We are now the holistic development. Now I can actually physically help train the athletes. As I'm training them, I can give them the real ins and outs of what the next level looks like.
I see.
So it's not just we train you and I'm gone.
Okay.
I'm investing into you as a person now. So now A stands for Lamar, going to athlete character enrichment. So as we're training you, we're enriching you with tools that are valuable that you're going to need to know for the next level. Like I said, it's not where run a 40.
Right.
All right, see you next week.
Right. It's not like that.
It's
right.
Run a 40. Now let me talk to you how school and how hard it's going to be, and why you're running this and why you're doing all these drills.
Correct.
So that's why I love working with Train with
That's awesome, because I know there are a lot of personal training programs out there, in fact, throughout the country, but a lot of them are just exaggerated practice sessions.
Yes.
Just run until I get tired, but they don't know, the kid doesn't know why. So with regards to Walk On Nation, if someone's interested in learning more about it, how can they, you have a website? Or?
Yes, our website is walkonnation.org. We have a Twitter, you can follow us, Walk On Nation. Instagram, Walk On Nation. That's where you can find everything. Our emails, phone number, all that stuff is on there if you want to reach out and all that.
So it's walkonnation.org.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I'm glad we had a chance to talk about this today. This is a very important topic, an issue that sometimes goes under the radar. And you find yourself in a situation where a young lady or a young man is gone through 4 years of college, and they have their degree, they've done everything right, but they're lost, and you can't figure out why. because a lot of times it's because we haven't taken the chance to give them an opportunity to discover who they really are. And that's very important for any 22-year-old, right?
Yes.
22 to 24-year-old. That's very, very important to at least have that exploration. And so I want to thank you, Mike, for the work you're doing. It's very important. I hope Walk On Nation expands and takes off across the country. It's very needed, but it's silent. Again, it's silent. And it kind of goes sight unseen sometimes until the end when the kid doesn't know who they are, right? Well, old people like me, sometimes we don't even know exactly who we are. We know where our name is, but we don't even know what that means.
Right.
But no, it's good having you here, Mike. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
You for joining us. As I said, we've been doing this for a couple of months now. This has been a wonderful journey. We want to continue it. So please subscribe to the channel and add your comments or questions. And don't forget now, it's about time. It's about time to speak up. Thanks. We'll see you next week. Take care.